Parents, this is information you need when bringing kids to Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. Hey everybody, I'm Mark, a travel advisor with Destination Magic. When it's time to take a vacation to any of the Disney properties, I'm the person to contact. I'm your expert, complimentary planner. So, when you take kids to the Disney parks, you're going to go on a whole bunch of rides, and sometimes you don't know exactly what you're getting into from those rides, and no one knows your kids like you do. So it helps to have a little bit of guidance on what is going to happen on these rides, so you can know my kid's not going to like that, or my kid's really going to love that, or most importantly, my kid's going to get sick on that. So I'm just going to run down the rides at Walt Disney World Resort in Florida and give you a brief overview, just a simple little guide to what to kind of take from these rides, what to think of them, and who will or will not enjoy them or should be on them. Now, when you're in the parks, you can always ask a cast member. They're great people to ask. You go up to the ride, ask a cast member for some advice about the ride with kids. Wonderful thing to do. There'll be little signs up about the rides, having to do with height requirements and things like that. But you can always ask a cast member for some more particular information. But this will give you a guide. This will give you an overview. So let's get into it. We're not going to run down every single ride, but most of them throughout the 4 parks in Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. This is part 1. Part 2, which I'll put out tomorrow, will be on the rides at Disneyland Resort in California. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can watch more updates about the parks and see part 2 about my favorite park, Disneyland Park in California. So let's hit this one today though, Walt Disney World in Orlando. We're just gonna run down a bunch of rides here. Okay, checking my notes. All right, let's start with Animal Kingdom Park for no particular reason. Kali River Rapids. This is your classic river rapids ride that a lot of theme parks have. It's beautifully themed. It's really cool. But if you're in the wrong seat, it's a tube, it's round, you're in with a bunch of people. So depending on where you sit, you might get really wet. You might not get wet at all. There aren't any huge drops, some kind of ramps, going downhill a little bit, but nothing too dramatic. And obviously everything is out in front of you and visible, but you might get a little wet on this ride. So there you go. Kilimanjaro Safaris. Did you even go to Animal Kingdom if you didn't go on Kilimanjaro Safaris? This is a beautiful ride out into the savannah to see animals roaming free. It's a wonderful ride. You're in like a safari jeep, a big jeep. So this is a car ride, basically, the open windows on the side. So it'll be a little bumpy. Motion sickness on vehicles, I guess, could get to some people on this. I get motion sickness very easily on vehicles, like cars. It never really bothered me on this ride. The vehicle moves slow enough and stops a lot to look at things. So not too much of a warning on motion sickness, but this is pretty much for everybody. Dinosaur, just jumping around the park here. Dinosaur is a dark ride with dinosaur animatronics that kind of come at you and appear out of the dark, sometimes very large and intimidating. This is a very bumpy ride. It's a vehicle, so you're kind of moving through a track indoors. The primary concerns that you should be thinking about with your kids are, it's very dark. You'll be surprised by the dino animatronics kind of popping up on you. So that could be kind of intimidating. You do kind of get batted around a little bit. So if those things don't sound good for your kids, then be cautious about that, or at least know about them. Avatar Flight of Passage. This is one of the most popular rides in all of the parks. This is a VR ride. So you'll get you get that headset on, and you'll get on you're riding a Banshee. So that's what it simulates. So it's gorgeous. You swoop and you fly through. If you love VR stuff, if you're good with VR stuff, you are gonna love this. Myself, I get motion sickness, severe motion sickness on VR things. Unfortunately, I'm kind of out when it comes to VR. So this one was really was a challenge for me. I can't ride this one again. I did once and barely got through it. But if you're into VR, that should tell you that it's one heck of a ride if it bothered me that much. So that's what you need to know about that. Na'vi River Journey. This is a gentle, classic Disney boat ride through a place. It's through the Avatar universe of Pandora. So it's a very calm, gentle boat ride. It's a scene at night of Pandora, so the the trees and everything lights up beautifully. You see creatures running around. This is very calm. This is a G-rated, very simple, no trauma, for lack of a better term, no drops, nothing like that going on. It's just a very calm, very cool, relaxing ride. And it's indoors, so you get a little break from that Orlando humidity. Expedition Everest. Here's your big bad coaster at Animal Kingdom Park. It's one of my favorite Disney coasters at any park. This is a big coaster with a big drop and a big harsh turn when you come down and turn. It also will go backwards for a chunk. It'll go backwards through the dark. So keep those things in mind about what your kids will or will not, or what you will or will not tolerate. I was very excited once because I got the front row of it. I was really excited because I was going to be in the front row right at the top of the mountain. Thought this was going to be great. And then I realized that the back half of the ride goes backwards. And then suddenly I was the tail. And that was, I said some other word for uh-oh when I realized what was about to happen. But this is a great coaster. I love it. But this is a big coaster. This is a serious coaster. So your kids got to be ready for a real coaster if they get on this one. It's fantastic though. Honorable mention, I'll say here, this isn't a ride, but the Festival of the Lion King, I'm just going to mention in general because you have to go to this show. It's kind of like Kilimanjaro Safaris. If you're in Animal Kingdom, you have to go to it. It's a show. It's a stage show. Amazing acrobatics and singing and all that stuff and crowd participation. But you should go to that. It's a wonderful, wonderful show. All right, so that is everything at Animal Kingdom. Now moving to Hollywood Studios. Hollywood Studios is known for lots of things, including really long lines for some incredibly popular rides. So let's get into them. Slinky Dog Dash. This is a good coaster. It's a little bit tricky of a coaster to kind of handicap in terms of who will handle it well. It does have a big drop, kind of a steep drop, not like a far drop, but very steep at the top of a turn. There's nothing too crazy in it. You do get fast. You get going fast. You go up and down. And some sharp turns. That one drop. But here's the real trick of this one. From Toy Story Land, as you're walking around, you can see most of the track. So including the most intimidating part, that vertical drop. So you can look at it, and your kids can look at it and see with your own two eyes whether you think that one is right for you. But the parts that move away, it's just moving fast, sharp turns. Nothing too wild. It's themed wonderfully. If your kids are willing to tolerate, a little bit of a not quite a kiddie coaster, but not quite a big bad adult coaster like Everest, this is a great one to go on because it's just a lot of fun. So that's Slinky Dog. All right, staying in Toy Story Land, alien saucers, alien flying saucers. So these are the green guys from Toy Story that are looking at the claw. And this is a kid ride. This is simple. You're just going to kind of spin around lightly, but not like hardcore spinning dizzy, but just, this is a kid ride. Just go have a little fun. You just kind of go around on this little track, and there's music, and the aliens will be talking to you as they're driving you around. So this is for everybody. Simple ride. Star Tours. Star Tours is a simulated flight through Star Wars lands. So you're sitting down, there's a screen in front of you, and you're sitting down in a ship, so like the screen will simulate you launching out into space. The seats move, they rock, they bump, they go up and down a little bit and tilt a little bit as you're going, so you'll get kind of jostled around. So that's kind of what this is like. Again, I get motion sickness pretty easily on things. This one doesn't bother me too much, but some people are particularly sensitive. If you know you're sensitive to things with like big screens in front of you, be a little careful with this one. But it's not too long of a ride. Sometimes my stomach is turned a little bit, but then I get off and it's fine. So, but you know what you can take better. I can't do VR at all, but a screen in front of me I can take for a certain amount of time. It's okay. That's what this ride's going to be. Toy Story Mania. This is a fun one for everybody. It's a kind of a little shooter game. You're sending little toys to hit other toys and score targets, and you kind of slide in this little vehicle from room to room. It's pretty calm. You kind of spin around to get to the next room, but it's fine. This is for everybody, and you'll get fun. You'll have fun shooting at these targets and seeing who in your vehicle has the leading score. You want to be the champion of this ride. So this is a good one for everybody. Let's see next. Tower of Terror. Okay, Tower of Terror is your classic drop ride, like elevator drop ride. So you go up, you drop down, you go up again, you drop a little bit more, and you go up again. Exactly as it described, it is a drop ride. So the theming is scary. It's after Twilight Zone, so it's a haunted hotel. You're in an elevator that's going up and down and dropping out from underneath your feet. People who love this ride. So if you're into drop rides, this is, what I'm told, a great one. I have not been on this ride. This is the only ride I have not been on in the parks, because this one, yeah, I know my limits. So a drop ride would not be great for the people sitting in front of me on this one. Classic drop ride though, great. I've gone through the queue. If you don't go on, here's another thing. If you're not going to go on a ride, still get in line with everyone and walk through the queue, because the theming is just amazing. So I go all the way through this one. I just skip out. The cast will let you skip out before you actually get on the ride. Talk to a cast member about that. Let them know, hey, I'm not riding, but I want to see it. They just let you go through and remind another cast member as you get closer up. Before you ever get on the ride, there'll be an exit you can get off. So go through. It's really cool stuff to look at. That's for every ride. That's really cool theming. All right. Runaway Railway. Runaway Railway. Believe it or not, this ride is relatively new. And it's the first ride at any parks that feature Mickey and Minnie. Like, all this time, there wasn't a Mickey ride. That's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. Runaway Railway takes you right inside a Mickey cartoon. It's like you're part of the animation. It is stunning to look at. It's so much fun. This is an all ages ride. There's some loud noises in it. Keep that in mind. There's kind of a simulated tornado at one part. It's not particularly scary, but it is a little louder. So just be wary of that if your kids have some sensitivity to sounds. That it might be a little loud at some parts, but generally speaking, this ride is built for all ages, just with a little bit of dramatics kind of near the end. But you're sitting in a vehicle that's not moving very fast at all. It's just casually moving about through the different landscapes, so it's pretty simple. All right, so what we got next? We got Smuggler's Run. Smuggler's Run is your Millennium Falcon ride. If you're a Star Wars fan, you have to fly the Millennium Falcon. You get to sit in the cockpit. Two people will be pilots, steering the left, right, and the up and down. A couple people will be gunners. A couple people will be engineers. Everyone gets the role. You play part. It's basically, I describe this as a video game in the round, because you're in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. You're sitting, and you'll kind of get jostled around a little bit. You'll move when you get fired on, and you'll kind of go up and down. And you'll feel that movement, but you're not actually moving, through the landscapes. Just your seats are moving. So the image of the land you're in goes all the way around, like the windows of the cockpit. So you are kind of like stepping into a video game, and because you're hitting all these buttons, and it's different every time depending on how well you perform, it is very much like a video game. Again, it's bumpy, loud noises, big screen projection, big screen in front of you. So if that's going to bother anyone, keep that in mind. It is a Star Wars battle ride, so it is going to be a bit loud. All right. Next up, Rockin' Roller Coaster. All right, Rockin' Roller Coaster, which is themed for Aerosmith, of all things. There's been talk of that being changed, but not yet. So it's still an Aerosmith. It's the Aerosmith coaster. Someone would call it that. The big thing to know about this is a fast coaster. This is a big kid coaster. All right. This is not a play coaster here. This is a real deal. The start is incredibly fast. Get your head back against that rest before it starts, because you fly from that start, and you immediately go into an inversion. And that's of note, because this is the only coaster in the Disney World Resort in Florida that has an inversion. It is an indoor coaster. It is in the dark. It's kind of simulating flying through like the LA Expressway system. So you see like street signs and signs all around you, but otherwise the whole area around you is dark. So keep that in mind too. There's music blaring, so it's obviously loud. Sharp turns, fast moving coaster. This is a fast coaster. But yeah, this is a big kid coaster. Yep. Epcot. All right, Epcot's people overlook Epcot. Don't overlook Epcot. Epcot's got the best coaster and the best ride and the best food in Florida. What else do you have to say? So, Epcot. Let's talk about Soarin'. All right, Soarin' is a very fun ride. It simulates hang gliding. So big things, key things to know on this: you are going to lift off the ground. So your feet are going to be dangling because you're in like a hang glider sitting. There's a huge screen in front of you where you're seeing these amazing, wonders of the world and landscapes. The hang glider will move a bit, not too dramatically. Most of the action's happening on the screen, but you will feel yourself kind of swaying and moving with it. This is mostly about heights. If anyone has an issue, because you will be off the ground, that would be kind of the main concern that people might find is being up, not the movement itself, but being off the ground. Some kids might not like that, so some adults might not like that. But this is a very calm ride. It's very fun. I love this ride. This is a good one. And in California, they have a slightly different version, Soarin' over California. So you can go to California at Disneyland and see the other one. Next ride, Figment in Journey into Imagination. Real simple. This is an indoor ride. It's fun for all ages, moving slow through goofy scenes, music, a few loud noises, but overall this is kind of for everybody. So there's a lot of noises on a lot of these rides, to be honest. So Guardians Cosmic Rewind. Here you go. Here is your best coaster in Florida. So this is obviously a Guardians of the Galaxy themed coaster. This is indoors. I like to refer to it as Space Mountain 4.0. This is an indoor dark coaster. So mostly a dark setting. There's big screens showing you the universe that you're flying through. You're jumping through, the holes that the Guardians use to get to different parts of the galaxy. Bad guys are out there around you. You're trying to defeat them and help the Guardians. So this ride moves fast. It's indoors. It's dark. The vehicle you're in has this really cool technology where it swivels. Now, it doesn't spin, so it's not like a spin ride to get you dizzy. But what's really clever about it is that the vehicle will rotate. So like in my chair, it'll rotate to make sure that you're continuing to face the action. So if there's a big thing going on the screen over here with the bad guy chasing you, as you start to bank one way, your vehicle will turn so you can keep seeing the scene to optimize the scene. That's all that's happening. It's not spinning. It's not trying to make you dizzy. It's not a spin ride. So just to be clear on that. But it is dark. It's fast. No inversions or anything like that. But this is a great smooth like butter coaster. All right, Spaceship Earth. That's in the big golf ball in the in Epcot, the big iconic building there right at the front. This is all ages. It's indoor, slow-moving vehicle. Some of the rooms would be kind of dark, but this is an all-ages ride. Nothing particularly scary or shocking or anything like that in here. It's just a journey through the history of communication. Mission Space has been called by astronauts the closest thing to the real thing that you can do. All right, so Mission Space, you get locked into this kind of tight, small little control seat. You have a job to do. You have buttons you have to hit in front of you, and the people next to you have their own jobs, and you kind of work together to hit buttons at the right time, so it's interactive. This ride is known for two things. One, for being an amazing simulator that impresses even astronauts, and two, a ride so tough that they put barf bags in it and created a lighter version for people who couldn't handle the tougher version. So this is a serious motion sickness alert ride. If you want to give it a try, go for it. It is amazing. I did it. I barely survived it. I went on the hard version by accident. I thought I was getting in the line for the lighter one. I read the sign wrong. Look at the sign and go to the lighter one if you're a little concerned. If nothing bothers you and you want to go hardcore like an astronaut, go to the hard one. It's quite the simulator. But this is a tough one. Tough ride. Probably the toughest in any of the parks. All right. Frozen Ever After. This is back in the Norway Pavilion. This is themed after Frozen, obviously. It's a calm little boat ride through Frozen scenes, lots of singing, all your favorite characters. It's great. One thing to note, though, there is a drop in this ride, kind of like a ramp. Not like a vertical drop like an elevator, but a ramp going down. It's not too steep, it's not too wild, but it does go backwards as you're moving away from a character. Suddenly you hit the ramp and your vehicle goes backwards. So if you need to be aware of that for your kids, there is a bit of a slope in this one that gets you going a little faster. You're not going to get wet or anything, but it does move at that one point on that ramp. So heads up on that. Living with the Land. This is over by Soren. All ages. Very simple, very cool little boat ride where you just are getting an education on the plants that are grown, the food that is grown in Epcot and often used in the restaurants in Epcot. So it's just a super calm indoor ride to look at all this vegetation. It's really cool. You can do a behind the scenes version too. That's very cool. So very simple. That's a good ride for everybody. Remy's Ratatouille ride. This is what I said Epcot had the best ride and the best coaster. Guardians is that best coaster. Remy's is that best ride in Disney World Resort in Florida. Remy's is great. You're in a vehicle, a rat. You are quote unquote shrunk down to the size of a rat and move through the kitchen, and you're chased by the head chef from that movie, from Ratatouille, and other people trying to, hit you with brooms, and they're all huge because you're shrunk down to be small. It's amazing how it simulates. Some of it is with screens, some of it is with practical effects where there's huge loaves of bread just towering over you. It moves quick at some points, you spin at some points, there's screens in front of you to simulate some of this stuff. You do get a very quick, very gentle spritz of water at one point. Nothing dramatic, it's not like a water ride, but you do get, it might shock you, so there's a little spritz of water. But generally speaking, this is a good ride for everybody. There's a drop that's simulated. It doesn't actually happen because you're just on the ground in a vehicle. So take that into account when you're considering what your kids will do. But this ride, I just feel like you have to get on this ride. This is the best ride at the Disney World Resort. Okay, so this isn't a ride, but I'll mention it because I think sometimes it's overlooked and it shouldn't be. Turtle Talk with Crush. Turtle Talk with Crush. Crush from the Nemo movies. He's the cool dude turtle. This one is just fantastic. You just sit in a little theater. It's just, honestly, again, it's not a ride, it's a show. You sit in a little theater, kids usually can sit up front, and Crush comes on a big screen and answers questions from the audience. So do this one, absolutely do this. It's super fun, super cute, even for grown-ups. Grand Fiesta Tour. This is in the Pyramid in the Mexico Pavilion. A lot of people miss it. You go in and go to the left, there's a ride over there. It's kind of tucked into the corner. Usually not a very long line for it. Moves quickly. It's a little boat ride, super calm, super fun, no issues with it. Great boat ride for all ages, kind of a celebratory tour through different parts of Mexico. This is super underrated. I just love this little simple ride. You just find one that you can't even explain it. You just love it. I just love this little ride. This is good for everybody. Don't miss that one. And that pretty much handles Epcot. All right, let's continue with the final park, Magic Kingdom. There's a lot of rides here. I'm going to try to get through most of them. So first we're going to talk about the Tomorrowland Speedway. This is like a go-kart ride. It doesn't move very fast. It's pretty hard to steer. You're on kind of a track, so there's only so much damage you can do. This is pretty simple, fun ride for everybody. Nothing too much to worry about, except, it is loud. Those vehicles are loud. The fumes are a little strong. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, this is pretty safe, classic Disney fun for all ages. Magic Carpets of Aladdin and Dumbo. I'm going to do these at the same time because they are basically the same ride. So this is a ride where in one you get on a carpet, buckled in, and the other you get in a elephant and buckle in, and they go up off the ground, and you just go around in a circle for a minute or two or whatever it is. So they're basically the same ride. This is very simple, very, all ages friendly, classic Disney ride. Cool music. It's for both of them. It's fun. Obviously, you got to be okay getting off the ground. They don't go so fast that you would get dizzy or anything. Most people, I wouldn't think, would get dizzy from it or motion sick from it. Again, I'm very sensitive to motion sickness. This ride doesn't bother me. I'll get to another ride later that is similar but actually does bother me just based on the speed. But this one doesn't go very fast. It's a pretty calm ride. And actually, I find these rides to be great for selfies. If you get up there and take a good picture of yourself with up in the air with like the castle behind you, if you can time that, it's a good selfie ride. All right, Tron Light Cycle Run. This is the newest coaster. I have not been on this coaster. If you know Tron is the movie and everything, you're getting on a light cycle. So this is kind of like a motorcycle that you kind of strap into and lean on and hold to the handlebars. This is pretty thrilling. There's no major drops or inversions or anything like that. There's a lot of simulated action happening around you. It moves pretty quick. You can see a decent amount of the track from in line, so take a peek at it. But this is a fast-moving coaster, but nothing huge in terms of drops or inversions or anything like that. But this is a big kid coaster. Astro Orbiter, that flashing back to the Aladdin and Dumbo ride. Astro Orbiter is in Tomorrowland. You have to like take an elevator up to get to it because it's really high up there, and then you get in these spaceships and you go around and around in a circle, similar to like Dumbo or Aladdin. However, I don't know if it's the speed or the turn radius, or both, but this one feels like a lot more pressure and a lot more speed as you go around in this one. So this one does affect me and other people in terms of motion sickness, whereas Dumbo or Aladdin, they don't. So don't look at this one and think it's the same as those other two. There's something about it, the speed, the turn radius, not sure what, that does bother some people if they tend to be sensitive to going around and around and around. So keep that in mind. Also, you are pretty high. You're up. With Dumbo and Aladdin, you start on the ground and then the ride goes up. With Astro Orbiter, you go up to the ride and then the ride goes up. So you have you're pretty good height up there. Let's see what else we got. All right, Pirates of the Caribbean. This is an awesome, awesome, awesome classic Magic Kingdom ride. Some would say, have you even been to Magic Kingdom if you didn't go on Pirates? Things to be aware of. There are parts that are dark. Mostly at the beginning, they try to kind of set the mood, a little bit of a creepy voice, a little bit of a dark setting, and then there is a ramp down. So it's not a long ramp, it's not super sharp, you're not really going to get splash and get wet, but it is going to zoom you down into the rest of the ride. And the other trick on that, spoiler, is that ramp comes out of the dark. So you don't really see it coming, you're moving very slow, and then suddenly you're going down. So that might be a helpful thing for people to know is coming, so they can brace themselves for it if that would make it okay for them to be on the ride. All right, let's talk now about Winnie the Pooh. This is the biggest thrill ride in all the park. No, I'm just kidding. This is a fun little ride for all ages. You kind of bouncing around in your little vehicle. There's good music. This is an all ages ride. It's bright, cool, very fun. Go on Winnie the Pooh ride. Next, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. All right, Seven Dwarfs is a really cool coaster. This one gets a very long line, so if you can get on it, great. You might have to wait a while to get on it. This is a wonderful coaster. It moves fast. There's sharp turns. You can see like the biggest bank and dropping sharp turn. Not a big drop, biggest bank. You can see that as you walk around it. You see some of the tracks. That's just good. You can watch it and see if it feels like it's okay to you and your kids. The middle has a great little spot where you kind of stop and you have the dwarves singing, and it's really cool inside. But no huge drop, no huge speed, just some sharp turns. But this all in all is a pretty friendly coaster for kids. I would say, to me, it's a good coaster for kids who want to upgrade from a kiddie coaster and try something a little bit more. Some people would dispute that with me. They think this is a little bit wilder of a coaster. I really don't think it is. I think this is a good, just above a kiddie coaster to see how kids can handle it. So that's Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Next, we'll refer back to Seven Dwarfs on this one. Next up is Barnstormer. So this is a Goofy themed ride. It's over in the far corner, kind of near Dumbo. The first thing about this ride is it's very quick. In terms of time, it's a very short ride. You're not going to be on it for very long. There aren't huge drops. There aren't huge turns. There's nothing in the dark. There's nothing like that going on. This is billed as a good coaster for kids. I'm not sure that it's easier than Seven Dwarfs, honestly. And again, people will disagree with me on that. But this one, while it's on a compact track, so it doesn't really get these long straightaways to pick up huge speed, the turns are sharp. The little drops drop quickly. It's quick. It's not fast, it's quick. And I actually think that it really kind of throws you around a bit more than Seven Dwarfs. So I actually don't think this is the best kiddie coaster. It is a fun coaster, but I would look at the Goofy ride and then look at what you can see from Seven Dwarfs and judge for yourselves. Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin is next, and this one is just a very simple, very fun little ride for all ages. You get in this little vehicle, has a little laser cannon, you move very slowly through different rooms and shoot at targets with your laser to see if you could take out Buzz's mortal enemy, Emperor Zurg. So this is a good one for everybody. It's an indoor ride. It's not particularly dark. There's lots of bright colors and things in the scenes around you. You don't move very fast. You control kind of how your vehicle is situated to see which targets you want to shoot at. You can turn it left or right a little bit. So it's a pretty simple ride for everybody. You know, some sound and noises in there, but pretty good for everybody. Small World. Again, this is a great one for everybody. Classic Disney boat ride, calmly moving through different scenes. It's lovely. Most people already know what Small World is. I'm not going to take more time on it. Small World is a great little ride. Mad Tea Party. This is your classic teacups ride. So, thing to know about this is if you have trouble with spins, then this can be a hard one for you because you're in these teacups and they're spinning. However, this is good to know because if you're like, well, I really want to go on teacups because it's such a classic ride, but I don't know if I can handle the spins. You control the amount of spin on your teacup. There's a thing in the middle that you can crank it to spin more. So if you're with someone who wants to spin, have them go in a different teacup. I went on teacups out in Disneyland Park in California, which is based, slightly different setting, but same ride. And I went on it. I can't handle spins at all. And I just didn't touch the spin thing. I just let the teacup kind of bounce back and forth between the different sections of the ride, and it was just fine. So if you're with someone who wants to spin and you want to ride it without a spin, you can control the amount of spin. You can get in a different vehicle from them and actually ride the teacups to say you rode the teacups, because that's cool to say. Next up, Peter Pan's Flight. This is an all ages ride that simulates you getting flown off to Neverland. You fly over London, you fly over Neverland, and you see all the characters below you. Very slow moving little ride. I'll just say that, it is kind of dark in there, and you are up. Again, you're flying over the land, so, it simulates you being incredibly high. You're not incredibly high, but just for those who might be a little sensitive to height and things like that, keep that in mind. But all in all, this is a classic everybody kind of ride. All right, so let's talk about Jungle Cruise. Jungle Cruise is a leisurely cruise through the most famous rivers of the world, all at one time, magically. Beyond the harm that could come from some seriously twisted jokes by the skipper, it is a casual, easy ride for all takers. I will say that at one point during the ride, there is usually a gunshot that goes off, so be ready for that. But otherwise, this is a rather tame ride with animatronic animals around you. So this should be good for most people, unless someone is just completely opposed to boats. That should be fine. Space Mountain is a fast coaster in the dark. That's the whole point of it. You don't see the turns coming, you don't see the dips coming, you don't see anything like that. It doesn't go upside down or anything, but it moves fast. It is in the dark. It is all in the dark. Some flashing lights around closer to the start, and music and sound like that going on. But the main issue that people might have with this is that it's in the dark and you don't see the turns coming or the dips coming. But otherwise, it is a fun coaster that people who love coasters should love. All right, let's talk about Haunted Mansion. So, Haunted Mansion is a big question mark for a lot of people. And it comes up a lot because everyone wants to ride it because it is fantastic, fantastic, fantastic ride. One of my favorites. But it is a haunted mansion. So what kind of scares are we talking about? All right, so, without being too spoilery, I'll give you the basic breakdown. When they were building Haunted Mansion, they were kind of torn between whether it should be scary or whether it should be silly. And what they came to was both, essentially. The first half of Haunted Mansion is going to be a little bit more toward the creepy. There are periods where the lights go completely out, and there's some thunder and lightning crashing, so it's a little bit loud. There's some creepy views, some creepy music, some creepy voices. And then when you get into the back half of the ride, it becomes a little bit of a ghost party. So it kind of switches. So again, it's dark and there's creepy imagery all around throughout all of it, but the back half does give you some fun music and some more lighthearted things going on. But obviously if someone is really, really, really not into scary things, they probably won't be into this either. But they do a good job of balancing the two. I think it's worth a try. Being a little scared is kind of nice sometimes. So, last one I'm going to talk to, and again, I'm not doing every single ride here, but the last one I'm going to talk about is Big Thunder Mountain. Big Thunder Mountain is a roller coaster. It is mostly outdoors. Parts of it go through kind of some tunnels and a mine shaft. But this is a quick kind of darting coaster. There's no huge drop. There's one spot where you think it's going to be a big drop, but then you kind of casually move down it instead. So there's no real big drops. There's some sharp turns. There's some kind of, up and down over some speed bump kind of things going on. This is a quick coaster. It's short tracks, not long straightaways, quick turns, left, right, little up, little down. It's loads of fun. I love it. But that's the type of action you're going to get out of it. There's some simulated explosions on this ride that'll get a little bit, more, loud and a little more action going on. So keep that in mind too. That is Big Thunder Mountain. All right, so that is a breakdown of most of the rides you're going to find at Disney World Resort in Florida. Now, part 2 of my video will be the Disneyland Resort in California. It'll cover the rides at both of those parks over there. There is some overlap between the rides, so I will talk about the differences between them and if there's things you should take note of. But Disneyland Resort has over 20 attractions that Disney World does not have, so there are a lot of different rides to talk about over there. So click that subscribe button, so you'll know right away when part 2 of this video comes out, and you'll want to have all the updates and news that I can give you from around the parks as I post them day in and day out. So hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it, and have a wonderful day. And when you're thinking of traveling to a Disney park, give me a call or a message or an email. I am your complimentary expert Disney planner. And again, with these particular rides we're talking about for this video or for my next one, if you have more specific questions about a certain ride that you want me to get into a little more detail on based on the travelers that you're going to be with, put a thing in the comments, message me, and I will tell you everything I can so you can have a great trip. It's supposed to be the happiest place on earth, so let's make sure we have happy tears, not traumatic ones.